I think we need caring, loving people with our kids. But if you are a caring, loving person, but you know in your heart that you have no idea what you're doing, then if you are really caring and loving, guess what? You will shut the school down. Because at the end of the day, it ain't about meeting your loving, caring needs. It's about meeting the needs of our most precious gift from God, our children. And you think about this, because I believe that the chartering process is an important element of an overall parent choice movement. I'm one of these people, I support all the options. All the options. In fact, I supported the effort to get vouchers in Utah. Yeah, I did. And you know why? But I don't support universal vouchers, just so everybody's clear. I support giving opportunities to low-income and working-class parents. You know why? Because I do not believe that we ought to have an America where only those of us with money have the ability to choose the best school for our children. And what we have in America is hypocrisy at the highest levels of the country. And yeah, I'm mad. I don't care what you all think. I supported Barack Obama. I like Ernie Duncan. But they are wrong when they oppose the Opportunity Scholarship Program in D.C. Because you cannot put your kids in Sidwell Friends and then oppose a scholarship that will give poor parents in D.C. the ability to choose a better school for their children. And the same in Utah. All of these politicians who are around here yapping about how much they care about public education, ask them where your kids go to school. And another thing while I'm on it, I want to be clear, because I heard people talk a lot about public education today. I want to make something very clear. We need to make a distinction between public education and the system that delivers public education. Public schools, as they are developed today, are not public education. They are a delivery mechanism. Public education is a concept that says that it is in the interest of the public for our children to be educated. Now, if for some reason you were to have a public school on this corner and a private school on this corner, and for whatever reason, if the public school was, and the private school is educating the kids and the public school is not, it is in the interest of the public for us to figure out a way to get kids to the school that works. You know why? Because if we don't educate kids in this country, guess what? We're going to have to jail them. And so the growth industry in America are prisons. And don't you find it just frightening that people look at third grade reading scores to start trying to figure out how many prisons are we going to need in this country? So that I'm saying to you in as deep a way as I can say it, is that I'm a supporter of parent choice. But I don't believe in people using choice as a way to avoid interaction with, quote, certain kids. And I got in trouble. Maybe I'm in trouble here, I don't know. But I got in trouble down in New Orleans because I opposed selective admission charter schools. That's a contradiction in terms to me. How are you going to set up a public school and then say, yeah, but only certain people can come here? What is that? When did we start supporting that as a part of what this movement's about? And as someone who was back there helping to start this movement, I want to be clear, I ain't for that. That is not what we fought to create. We fought to create schools that would be open to all kids. Because in America, education is an issue of social justice. And that's what this is about. It's about providing a quality education for all children. It's about providing choices for kids, families, and educators. But at the end of the day, what should drive all decisions that we make are the interests of our children, not the interests of the adults. That is what this is about. And for you younger people in here, one thing I want you to understand is as the years go by, it's going to be more and more difficult to maintain a sense of purpose and not get caught up in protecting ourselves because we exist. See, the further you get away from a revolution, it's harder to remember why the revolution was being fought. And what happens, and I understand it, because in order to educate kids in charter schools, you got to fight for charter schools to exist. I understand that. But if for some reasons charter schools are not working to educate kids, then we should get rid of them. You should not be standing up there talking about, I'm fighting for my school, even though your school don't educate nobody. Because what's happening then is we move from becoming reformers to being protectors of the status quo. That's what we become. And the more we work to institutionalize, the harder we got to work not to become protectors of the status quo. And so what I call for, what I urge a lot of you all, ask questions. Be mad. Be angry. Come to these meetings mad. Don't all come up in here smiling and everything is fine and don't we love each other and all that. I mean, it's all good. I'm all for love and all of that. But what I'm saying is there's got to always be an element within our midst that is pushing us, that is forcing us to keep asking the question, are we serving kids? And no matter who gets mad, we have to push on that question. So I just want to say, it may not sound like it, but I just want to thank you all for the work that you're doing. I want to be clear about that. Because as I sat here and listened to people get these awards and saw the emotion that people were feeling about the work that they do, you couldn't help but feel good about our movement. But what I'm trying to say is, if we believe in this movement, we got to keep that type of emotion. Because y'all got to be clear what we're dealing with out here. I don't know if you all ever saw this. There's this dude, he was the attorney for the NEA, and he's retired. You know, he retired. So I'm going to ask you all, if you haven't seen this clip, how many of you have seen this clip I'm getting ready to talk about? You didn't get to Utah, huh? Well, some of you all have seen it. If you Google NEA lawyer, can't think of his name right now, because you need to hear this guy, because he lays out very clearly what we're up against. Because what he basically says is this. You know, he gets up, and you know they were applauding him. It was a convention of the NEA, and he was a lawyer. He's retiring. So he gets up and says basically that the reason why we are feared, meaning NEA, isn't because of our ideas about kids, blah blah blah. It's because you all are willing to give us millions of dollars to protect you. And then he goes on to say that while we care about kids, all of this, that, he says that anything that would cause us to give up any of our bargaining rights is too high a price to pay. And so you all need to be clear about who you're dealing with in this charter movement. And you need to understand that what's going to make us survive is the emotion that you had today for these kids. And when we lose that, we're done. We're done. Because that is what makes us different. That is what has to drive the charter movement in this country. And the state superintendent said something that I want to second and kind of end with, and that's this. The reason why the work that you do is so important is because your work may save the life of a kid. And I've heard people say, well, you know, we got to fight for systemic reform. No, what we have to fight for is to save the lives of our children. And you know what? You have no idea what saving the life of one child will mean to the world. And that's how we have to look at it every single day. I'm going to save the life of a child. And because I'm going to save the life of a child, I am advancing the world. Because that is what advances the world. And if you think about this work that you do, even beyond that, understand this, that you cannot have a democracy without an educated populace. Dr. Kenneth Clark said years ago, it's one of the cardinal assumptions of our American democracy that significant social changes may be brought about through education, through providing the type of intellectual training and information which makes it possible for citizens to make the kinds of decisions that you make rather than going through tyranny and violence. Only an educated people can be expected to make the types of choices which assert their freedoms and reinforce their sense of social responsibility. So, again, I just want to thank you all. And having been there in the beginning, I have to tell you all, this is what I had hoped we would become. What I saw today is what I had hoped. And people like Ted Coldery and Joe Nathan and all of those people who were back there in the beginning, this is what we had hoped for, that we would find these people out here all over this country who are ready to create schools, who were ready to talk about holding ourselves accountable for student achievement and loving these kids, but knowing that loving them was just necessary but not sufficient, that we had to go beyond that and we had to educate them. That is what this was all about. And I just thank those of you who picked up this banner and are going to take this charge forward more and more in America. And I just ask you to keep in mind as you do this work what William Daggett said when he said that we must love our children's hopes, their dreams, their aspirations more than we love the institutional heritage of the school system. Thank you very much.